Well, greetings and welcome to the wonderful and wacky world of bottleneck guitar. If you're watching this tape, I presume you're interested in learning how to play slide, and that makes you a pretty lucky individual because you'll be able to express yourself with a lot more expression than you can with just a regular guitar. I'm holding a National Resonator guitar here, which was made in 1928, and they were very popular from the late 20s to the mid-30s when they were eclipsed by the electric guitar. Now, you don't have to use a resonator guitar to play bottleneck, but it does help. If, for example, you've got a Martin or a flat-top wooden guitar with light gauge strings, the first thing I would recommend doing is getting medium gauge strings, because we're going to be working in some open tunings which require slackening the strings, and so you'll lose some tension there. Another alternative is to simply just find a flea market guitar somewhere where the action is a little bit higher. Most bottleneck players prefer a slightly higher action so that the slide doesn't crash against the strings. What we're going to be doing in this tape is, first and foremost, learning how to get a good sound, because all the licks in the world don't mean anything if the sound that's producing them is buzzy and rattly and non-professional. So I'm going to take you through a series of exercises to help you develop proper hand position and a good tone, and to give you all the colors of the palette that you'll need to paint a picture of blues. And we'll wind up covering some classic blues licks, and by the time you're done listening to this tape, you'll be playing quite a bit of slide. So without further ado, let's begin. First of all, I'm going to begin by working in open G tuning, which is a very interesting tuning because whenever the guitar, which is essentially a first world instrument, is placed in the hands of so-called primitive cultures, one of the first things they do is tune it to this open tuning. And as a matter of fact, you'll find that African guitar players, Mexican guitar players, Hawaiian guitar players, and Southern American blues players all use this tuning. Now, I'll put my fingers on the frets that would give you the sound of standard tuning, and then you'll see how to tune down to G. Here's a standard tuning. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take the top and bottom E strings and drop them down 2 frets to D, and at the same time we'll take the 5th string, which is tuned to an A, and so I'll give you a chance to get tuned up to the tape here. I'll give you the strings one at a time. Here's the high D, and the B string, which is unchanged from standard, and the G, and the D, and the G again, and the low D. And so you can see with these strings tuned lower why it is necessary to use slightly heavier strings. I personally use an extremely heavy set of strings, 16, 18, 28, 39, 49, 59. However, a lot of people get a little nervous about the state of the tips of their fingers if they use those kind of gauges. So what I do recommend is a medium gauge set, which usually has a 13 on top, and I do recommend substituting a 14 or a 15 for the first string because you want that stiffer tension, and 90% of bottleneck playing happens on the first string. I'm an advocate of, first of all, a glass bottleneck. I've been using the same slide and I haven't dropped it for 25 years. I first made this when I was a young, impressionable teenager, and it's from a Matisse Rosé bottle, not recommended for human consumption, but it's one of the few wine bottles that doesn't flare out, and so actually has a straight enough surface to go across all 6 strings. Another critical aspect of it is, rather than simply cutting the glass off, you then have to round the edge with a 1/4 round in order to be able to slip from one string to another. Now, there are some manufacturers today that are making glass slides, and some that are even making them from wine bottles. However, they all come cut off with a 90-degree angle at the top edge. So what I recommend is sitting down with a good video and several grades of emery cloth from about 100 up to 600, and sit there by hand and sand it down until you get a 1/4 round there. If you know anybody in arts and crafts that has a wet sanding belt, a sanding belt that goes through water, that's a faster way to do it. I'm also an advocate of using the slide on the pinky rather than any of the other fingers, and there's a couple of reasons why I do that. One is to enable my fingers to continue playing fretted notes, because G tuning is a wonderful tuning for some very interesting sounding chords. And number two, these fingers give me room to eliminate a lot of the noise created by slide playing, and we'll be going well into that. Let me say right off the bat that yes, I am definitely an advocate of clean playing. I don't believe that sloppy playing is necessarily more authentic. I think that a lot of the old blues guys were trying to play clean. Some succeeded, and some were hampered by poor instruments or lousy strings. Probably the cleanest bottleneck player of the 1920s was Tampa Red. However, Robert Johnson makes a pretty clean slide sound as well. All of Charlie Patton's slide pieces are performed on his lap with a knife, and that's another whole ball of wax. At any rate, let's get your slide onto your pinky there, and then we will assume what I consider to be the proper hand position. First of all, there are no straight lines in slide. Every movement that you do in all three dimensions should be curved, including the way you hold your hand. So what I'm recommending is to put the slide on your pinky and then imagine with the rest of your hand that you're holding an orange, so that your hand is forming a circle both out this way and also the tips of your fingers are forming a semicircle. Your thumb rests on the back of the neck, and I usually hang it about here. The slide is anchored slightly on the string, and then my index finger is used to stifle out unwanted string noise. Now what this does is it gives me a three-legged stool of stability, and if you've ever tried sitting on a three-legged stool with one leg missing, it's not too stable. Let me provide you with the reason why I advocate damping out unwanted string noise. When you play a slide normally without damping, you hear the note, but you also hear the notes on the other side of the string. Well, with the exception of the 12th fret, those notes are basically garbage because they don't have any musical relationship to the notes you want to play. So what happens is you get a very poor signal-to-noise ratio. You've probably heard a lot of slide playing that sounds something like this. To me, there's a lot of unwanted noise there. It's always better to be able to control the sound. Then you have the option of playing a less controlled sound. So what I recommend doing then is putting your slide, we're going to work right now on the first string, and then using the flesh of this side of your index finger to actually damp out those unwanted tones. I suppose before we proceed any further, obviously when you are making a note with the slide, you don't put the slide in the middle of the fret like your finger, but you have to put it right over the metal fret bar itself. The reason being, when you fret a note with your fingers, it's not your finger that's selecting the length of the string, it's that little piece of metal that's selecting it. So let's just start right now by placing your slide at the 5th fret right over the bar, and if you'll notice, my slide is angled outward because I don't want it to hit the other strings that I'm not playing at the moment. And so I've got my three-legged stool here with my thumb, the flesh of my index finger, and the slide. So obviously the first thing you're going to do with a slide is slide. So let's just try and get comfortable by just making this non-musical sliding sound. Now what you don't want to hear is buzzing. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to be banging the slide against the frets. You don't want to hear that sound. Just a simple, relaxed. We'll be talking a lot about being relaxed and being tense at the same time in order to play this instrument. Okay, now after we've done that for a while and you're able to get this sound without any noises or unwanted sound, let's actually start to play a few notes here. So we'll play a note at the 5th fret, the 9th fret, and the 12th fret, and back down. So let's just go in a nice slow rhythm like this. Now at this point we're not using vibrato yet, we're just going for musical accuracy. See if you can do that without looking. Just use your ears. So the idea is to slide up to the exact point at which it's in tune, and then continue. It's interesting how the human ear and human perception, it's easier to get things in tune when you're traveling up rather than traveling down. If you try and do this movement down without looking, it's a little bit harder. Okay, that's exercise number one. Just getting that slide down there without making any noise. And at this point, it doesn't matter which of your fingers you use. And we'll be discussing a little bit about the finger picking here. I use a thumb pick and two finger picks. I also use plastic picks, not so much for the material that they're made of, but the fact that plastic picks stick out further. A metal finger pick usually is worn something like this. And you've got a curved surface here, and really all you can do is kind of rub at the string. Whereas with the plastic picks, which stick out further and still have a curve, I can still softly rub at the string. But if I need some torque, I've got plenty of room there. And for fast and rapid picking, I don't have to get my hands so close to the strings that they get all tangled up. It's pretty difficult to play slide without picks because the flesh of your right hand is just too soft to get a clear sound. But we'll be talking a bit more about finger picking later. The least obvious thing that a slide can do is staccato, and that means short clipped notes, and they actually, with a slide, can be shorter than fretted notes. There are also some other hidden advantages of being able to get in between the cracks of the piano of music with this. For example, with staccato, let's say I had a phrase that encompassed this range, but I needed to put more beats in there. I could actually go with little quarter fret movements there. So now I want to show you how to make the staccato also without any extra noises. There's definitely some noise reduction necessary here because when you first put the slide down, there's a little buzz as the slide and the string first contact each other. And when you remove the slide, there's another buzz. Now, if you want to go, if you do that without any damping, it's going to sound like this. So you get some buzz, you get the open string in between. It's not a pretty picture. So here's how I'd like you to think about this. For staccato notes without anything in between them, you're going to actually rotate your hand ever so slightly, lifting your slide without lifting your damping finger. Let me just turn the guitar this way so you can see this movement. It's a kind of a rotary movement, and the center of it is your index finger. Now that gets rid of the on buzz, but as you move to the next note, you still have a getting it off buzz. So how do we get rid of that one? That has to be done with right hand damping. And I'd like to take you through a little thought experiment about right hand damping. If you place your right hand on the fingerboard where the neck meets the body, push in as hard as you can, and now take your other hand and try and lift off. Let's say lift it up about an inch. It's like you're doing an isometric exercise. You're pushing down with your right hand, you're lifting up with your left. Now let go. That's the kind of spring tension that you want. So the game that you need to play with yourself is what is the loudest, strongest, biggest, fattest note you can make of the shortest possible duration with a clean ending and beginning. So without any slide at all, let's just do this. Now I'm damping with the heel of my hand here and only allowing that note to ring for a second. If my damping stroke made a musical sound, like I'll just tap the guitar, and if I was playing 1, 2, 3, 4, if my damping stroke made a note, it would sound like da-da, 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 da-da. You just get it right back there as fast as you can. So now, just do a series of these. Now let's try it with the slide. Getting a nice clear sound. So what we're going to do now is a staccato pattern that goes from the 5th fret to the 9th fret and back. But very slowly. Again, the left hand is lifted, just the slide is lifted. The thumb and the finger stay in place. And then every note is damped with the heel of your right hand. So let's proceed. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it up to the 12th fret, and then we'll do a series just like that, and then we'll increase the speed. 1, 2, ready, begin. And one more. Okay, now let's increase the speed. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's go to the next sound. Basically, what I'm giving you here is about a half a dozen different types of sounds that you can do with a slide, which you will then connect into licks and actual music. So the next staccato pattern would be a staccato with an open string in between. And again, I do realize at the moment that these are not very musical phrases we're playing, but you have to learn the alphabet before you can write Shakespeare. So this time, to facilitate a clean sound and to allow you to have an open string plucked in between the slid notes, you need to this time keep your thumb down and lift your slide and your damping finger like this. So here we go. It'll sound like this. Let's do some fast ones up to the 12th fret. 1, 2, ready, begin. Before we go on to another sound, let me just briefly give you one of my most secret techniques that's the cornerstone of my playing, and then we'll apply it to this. That is the triplet sound. A triplet is a group of 3 notes with an accent on 1. In a typical measure of 4, there'd be 4 triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I accomplish that with a backwards roll, thumb, middle, index. And we're going to do it just on 1 string. You can see the advantage of the plastic picks here because I don't get all tangled up in the strings. So now let's do the slide note with your thumb and 2 beats on the open string. Well, even us pros make a mistake sometimes. Let's try that with 2 beats on the open string and the slid note with your thumb. Now you might ask, which comes first, the damping finger or the slide? And in this case, I would say they're just about landing at the same time, but if you had to err on one side or the other, I would have your damping finger land first. To develop your ear, let's try some long jumps. Now this is where the issue of simultaneous relaxation and tension comes into play. Because in order to get a real fluid, liquid sound with the slide, you have to be very muscularly relaxed. You kind of have to reduce your concern a little bit so that you're really relaxed with your left hand, almost like you have no bones, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more. At the same time, in order to stop dead on the note you want, you have to be prepared to be very tense for that moment. So I want you to try this. Long slides to these 3 notes with a dead staccato stop at those notes. So here we go. 1, 2, ready, and... Now, at each of those slides, I want you to start as far away from the note as you can, and then stop dead when you get to it. So, and you can stop it dead with right-hand damping. Let's put a little blue note in there. We'll use the 3rd fret, 5th fret, 9th, and 12th. let's try to do that with downward slides. As I say, this is a little harder for your ear to hear it in tune, and it's a little bit of a cartoony sound that you won't be using that often, but you will need to do this once in a while on your licks. So let's try the same series of notes, but sliding from as far up as you can. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, begin. You'll just have to take my word for it at this point that that does get used. The next sound that you're going to need to make is what I call strike and slide, which is where you're going to get 2 notes out of 1 picking stroke. So that's going to be like this. Now with this stroke, you have to, again, be tense and relaxed. You have to be tense in order to really jerk the slide to the next note in order to get an actual rhythmic move there. You don't want to just go, but you really want to. Let's do it with simple adjacent frets from the 5th fret to the 12th fret. 1, 2, When I'm playing a melody by itself like that, I tend to use the thumb pick rather than the finger picks because it makes a bit of a fatter sound. Let's see. Now let's combine a strike and slide with an open string in between. We'll just repeat one pattern. Just like that. A 1, 2, and begin. So again, the hand movement is down with both at the 5th fret. Yank your hand down here, and then take them both off in order to make the damping, the open string stroke.